Happy Friday, it's Cluster Fun. I'm Danny Cunningham. Lucky enough today to be joined by the Conduits of Trouble, Chip Scoggins, Judd Zulgad. The NBA never sleeps, so we learned that yesterday. It's supposed to be the quietest sports day of the year. There's one baseball game, there's really nothing else going on, and we get a bomb that Russell Westbrook's traded to the Houston Rockets in exchange for Chris Paul. Unbelievable.
This is, I can't remember an off-season for any sport like this, right?
Sure.
We've had this many big names and really just kind of turned the whole league upside down. Yeah. Where, just the superstars that can dictate where they want to go. And this is basically, right, this was James Harden saying he wanted to play with Westbrook, right?
And it was OKC wanting to trade Westbrook and kind of give him a path to competitiveness because the Thunder just weren't going to be that after trading Paul George away. But, yeah, it's in a way that's once the Paul George trade went down, and this is according to Brian Windhurst of ESPN, James Harden and Russell Westbrook, who obviously have played together in the past in OKC, got on the phone and said, let's try and make this happen.
Is this, yeah. I love this. Is this?
I love this.
I love it. I'm fascinated by it.
Yes.
But is it good?
So here's a quick stat before you get into the
Probably not.
Good. If you look back at the 2017 NBA All-Star Game, there were 25 guys named to the rosters. One of them was an injury replacement. 8 of the 25 guys are on the same team they were for the 2017 All-Star Game.
2 years.
2 years. Eight of 20. So that means how many guys have changed teams?
I'm not good at math, but that's a lot.
The answer to your question, Chip Scoggins, is I've got to think in my heart of hearts and my common sense, somewhat adult mind, that this is not good for the sport. But I have a hard time telling you why it's bad, and it's great fun. I mean, the NBA is so off the chains right now as far as ridiculousness that's fun. Is you get home on this Friday night a week ago, and you're like, oh, look at Twitter one more time. And Paul George has forced his way out, unbeknownst to Woj or anybody besides probably God, right?
Yeah.
And then last night, the Chris Paul trade in itself was not surprising because we were all sort of like, okay, he's going to get traded to the Heat, and then it's going to happen. And then what I love, too, is, and poor baseball. Baseball's so loud. I'm watching the Rangers-Astros game, right?
Yeah.
And it's the standalone. It's actually not a dumb idea. Standalone MLB.
Sure.
We're back from the All-Star break, and we'll give you a Lance Lynn against Houston. Woj bomb.
Yeah.
He's been traded to the Houston Rockets. So I guess as a sports fan, I'm hard-pressed to, sit here and say this is bad.
Yeah.
Because it's just so compelling.
I guess it's... I love it. I love the drama. I love all these, the topsy-turvy nature of it. But it's definitely shrinking the parity pool, right? I mean, there's definitely, I mean, it's how many fans and markets right now say we've got no shot?
I think in the West, there's only probably... Minnesota's probably one of them.
Sure, yeah.
But in the West, there are only 3 other teams that think we're not making the playoffs because OKC's not going to make the playoffs now. They're gonna go into a rebuilding, which they have never done since moving to OKC.
And good for and they've stockpiled a lot of picks.
They've done it the right way. Good for them. Phoenix isn't going to make the playoffs, and Memphis is also rebuilding. So you can look at only 4 of the 15 teams are like, you know what, we really don't have a chance this year. Where that means 11 teams are like, we think not only can we get to the playoffs, we can probably at least advance into the second round of the playoffs. So there is a ton of parity out West. The Eastern Conference looks like a joke.
Yeah.
But the Western Conference is going to be unbelievable this year.
Realignment, gentlemen, realignment. If I'm Glenn Taylor, I'm knocking on Adam Silver's door this morning and saying, put us in a division with the Bucks and the Bulls. Get us out of that Western Conference. But, if you're a Wolves fan, though, I feel for you.
I don't know that Wolves fans are thinking we're making the playoffs.
Oh, they shouldn't be.
But But here's my question. Unless you torture this, and I mean, you can say they've got cat. It's not like they have nobody.
Yeah.
But if you're a Wolves fan, you guys, and you really sit down and think about this, let's say you're considering season tickets, and you're like, okay, but they got cats, and Gerson, he might be really good.
Sure.
But what is in your mind, as far as season tickets or being a fan, what is your timeline? What is your hope as you see all of this going on around you?
I think if you're realistic and you're paying attention and you're sort of savvy, you say, okay, it's next year. When they're going to make their splash.
Take another swing next summer.
Yeah.
That's what they're going
to
That's
what they're trying to line up for.
That's
clearly
why they didn't match the Tyus Jones contract, because they want to have more flexibility next summer to do that type of stuff.
So
it's hard
if you're buying tickets, it might be just, hey, let's see what the new changes might be.
And hey, Karl-Anthony Towns is fun to watch.
Yeah,
they might not be the best team in the West or in the NBA. But that doesn't take away from how good Cat is and how special of a player he's still going to be.
And I will say, I am genuinely interested to see on-court changes.
Sure.
In style, are they going to come out? Are they going to be bombing threes like crazy? Are they going to be faster? Are they going to? I am curious to see what new style of play they have.
They showed it in Summer League. They looked stylistically in Summer League, and I realized that it's far from the same thing. And you've got some players that were on the NBA roster last year, and Keita Bates-Diop and Josh Okogie and even Mitch Creek. But they played stylistically so much different. The mid-range shots were all but eliminated. That just everyone wanted to pull their hair out over. All of those things were gone. They played a much better brand of basketball. So hopefully that's what they're going to look like when the season does open up in October.
It just feels like if you're a Wolves fan, you just keep taking rights to the chin. Because like as of last night, before that trade, you're saying, you know what, Houston might not be as good as we thought.
I think Houston still was going to be a top 2 or 3 team in the West, even if they would have hung on to James Harden. In
Probably
part
because of Golden State, yeah.
Well, and because there's something to be said about continuity.
Well,
and they were one of the only teams that was going to have that going into next year, and they're a year removed from winning 65 games and winning the title if Chris Paul doesn't blow out his hamstring.
And to your point, like the last how many years have we said, okay, everybody's playing for second? Mm-hmm. Golden State's winning the sucker if they're healthy, right?
Yeah.
4 years? 5 years?
Since I don't think we said that entering 2014-15, the first year they won it. But after that, from the 2016 playoffs on, it was you're playing for second.
And so right now, who's your favorite? I mean, you could probably pick 3 teams.
I've had this conversation with a couple people, but you can realistically, there are 6 teams in the West, I think, that can look themselves in the mirror and say, we're winning the conference, and I can't dispute that. But they
who's the top one?
Clippers,
the Clippers, the Lakers.
I think Rockets.
Absolutely. I think the Rockets before even the Rockets. Golden State, you can't count out.
Would you put Golden State?
You can't count them out.
You can't count them out. Yeah.
I don't necessarly believe it that they will, but you can't count them out until they're dead.
But this is fantastic, then, right? Because what's the one complaint for the last 4 years?
Well, there's the parity.
It's going to be Golden State. It's boring.
When I said there's no parity, I think it's. There's the group over here that are creating super teams or the super duos, and then the groups over here, right?
It's interesting now that it's duos and not the big threes anymore.
So what are GMs now? Because we have now, it seems like, entered a definite era, and this began with the Heat with LeBron, but I mean now it's crazy with twosomes going place to place to place. You know, if you're a GM now, do you just get a call from said superstar saying, "Hey, I just talked to Westbrook.
Yeah,
call OKC and get him because he'll come here." You know, I mean, Paul George and Kawhi basically circumvented the entire system.
Yeah,
like with no never mind to anybody. And Kawhi basically told people, "You, including Paul George, you do this, I'm in."
I mean, players have all the power. Yeah. If you're a superstar, you have all the power. You can dictate. I don't care if you're under contract.
That's Paul George.
Yeah, you can do what you want.
2 more years.
A lot of contract left too.
Yeah,
that's why Cat's scary.
Yeah,
that's why anything.
I will say I don't think 5 years left of contract is
3 short. Is kind of the
when you get to 3, that's when it might be time to start feeling. But right now, you get
to 3 quick.
Judd, I wrote a column about this. Is like I don't think it's being knee jerk overreaction. Is like at some point, and judging from Cat's body language and everything he said, I think he's totally bought into Gerson, and obviously we know he feels about Ryan and changes and all that.
I would agree.
But at some point, you need to start winning and get to the playoffs so he doesn't say, you know what, I've had enough of this.
Those honeymoon stages only last for so long.
Sure.
And we've seen that there are countless examples throughout the NBA.
But this is the power of a player to serve as a pseudo GM now. And so basically, it's like if a GM decided this isn't going to work, I'm just going to jump from team to team to team. Mm-hmm. That's what the players are doing. Mm-hmm. That's my point. Is the GMs now have become, to quote our show, conduits of like get this done.
Yeah.
Not like this is my not Gerson going to Glenn saying, D'Angelo Russell, I'm really intrigued. Mm-hmm. Now I'm sure he likes him. I'm not trying to say he doesn't.
Sure.
But that's Karl-Anthony Towns telling Gerson, I'm setting the table for this. Try to make it work.
Yeah.
Like that, Chip, that's a dynamic in sports I don't think we have ever seen in our lifetimes.
You look at the other sports, football, I mean, you have and baseball.
They physically throw you out of the building.
Baseball, one guy can change a little bit, but in the NBA, there's no sport that 2 guys can transform an entire organization.
You're one of 9 in a lineup or one of 25 in a roster. Football, you're one of 53 on a roster, one of 11 on the field at once. In basketball, there's 5 dudes on the court, and you can impact the game more so than any other sport.
So think about like when Zion, once he established himself, he's going to be that guy that,
Absolutely.
Unless New Orleans is winning. If they're winning, it changes everything. I mean, because
I'm saying he might be able to attract guys to him, and so it's almost like they figure out where they want to go and hop to that spot.
And I think what they do now is Cat is going to recruit guys here until he determines that no one will come here, and then Cat is going to become the recruited.
He's going to become another team.
Yeah,
yes.
He's going to become.
But at some point in time, I think the system has for players a pull cord, and so if they get to the point of no one's going to come here, they're like, bleep it. I'm going, and now my buddies, and now I'm open for business, and I've got a blinking sign on my forehead saying, call me, call me.
It's interesting, too, that he's a big man.
Yeah.
All these other guys you see are
perimeter players,
guards,
whatever, yeah.
So he would be kind of a different draw for somebody,
Yeah, he certainly would be. All right, I want to get on to baseball because big series for the Twins opens up tonight in Cleveland. They have a 5.5 game lead in the American League Central Division. It could be as large as 8.5 after this weekend, or it could be as small as 2.5. I think that this is probably the biggest 3-game series that the Twins have had since blank.
Oh, Chip, I can't even recall. I mean, this is the most meaningful baseball in July that we've seen, and I will not buy that the wild card year was, because that was sort of this.
That was weird because they were like buyers.
They got Jaime Garcia, and he started a game on a Friday night in Oakland,
and then got traded.
And then he got traded.
Totally different.
Chip's right. This is probably the most meaningful July baseball that the Twins have played. I wouldn't even say 2010 because I think they ran away with the division more so. And so it might go back to 2006-ish or so.
And the thing is, guys, this is going to be the first of many of these. We're going to have this conversation a bunch of the next 6 weeks.
13 games left.
Right? It's going to keep feeling like this. Oh, my God, this is a big series. I mean,
there's going to be pressure on this team, like a real pressure on this team that hasn't been felt. Yeah, it's awesome.
fun.
Don't you guys love this?
Yeah.
I am so into this.
By now, honestly, we were counting down the days to Mankato, or now not Mankato, to Egan.
Yeah,
just waiting to get. Oh, I can't wait to get to training camp because now I'm not even thinking. I'm not even thinking about the Vikings.
No, I mean, I have to sort of, but yeah, I'm with you. No,
as a Twins writer.
Yeah, this is the. Danny, I serve a lot of masters. Okay,
come on, tidbits.
This is the face of a tired man. No. It's just Chip's right, and I love the fact, and I've been sincere about this, and I'm not trying to like be negative about it. I love the fact 5.5 to me is perfect because you're not, and they're not choking it. Like I won't buy.
No, Cleveland got hot. They played.
And they've been they're 21-8 in their last 20. Really since they had an all-team meeting when Carlos Carrasco, their starting pitcher who has leukemia, he told them
might come back and pitch
that he has leukemia, and since that meeting, they're 21-8. They have the best record in baseball. That's the easy storyline, easy connection to make. But they've been one of the best teams in baseball over the last month.
And I believe it was on the morning of June 3rd. I think the Twins were off that day. I believe they woke up. They were 11.5 off on Cleveland, and
Correct.
if I'm not mistaken, they were 40-18. They were never that team.
You were going to keep that pace, right?
Right. Yeah. So, like for people now to say, well, they're, and I get that this is not the majority of people, but for anyone to say, well, they're choking, no, they're not choking it. Danny's right. Cleveland's playing great baseball. But as a baseball fan in this town, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Because 11.5 up was not that much fun. And at this point in time, we would just be saying it's all about the playoffs. I love the fact that we're talking about the series now.
And then you have this series, and then they come home and you got what? Mets. A's, Yankees.
The Mets. I hope Mr. Met comes.
That'd be great.
I love Mr. Met.
Great.
And Mrs. Met or Miss Met. Those are some of the great mascots in baseball. I love Mr. Met. And the Mets are a great dumpster fire.
It's crazy.
Their GM, I believe, is going to do his first sit-down press conference with the media in several weeks or a month or something tonight. The New York Post has a advanced story on it today saying what type of questions will what's his name? Brody. Yeah. What type of questions will Brody be asked? Can you imagine that if we, Star Tribune, what type of questions would Darryl Falvey be asked?
Oh, unbelievable. That is one of the great dumpster fires in sports right now. They'll be in town, next week?
Next week. Oh, yeah.
That'll be something to
Judd will be in his
Oh, God, I'm going to be running around. I'm going to be the happiest guy in that press box.
I can't wait for it. This has been Cluster Fun. That's Chip Scoggins. That's Tidbits. I'm Danny Cunningham. Talk to you on Monday.
Bye.